Hey, this is Jacob from JL Esperanto, and in this video, I want to go over how to go about sharing Esperanto, like how to go about, exposing more people and just making more people aware that Esperanto is a thing. Now, the reason why I decided to record this video actually part of the inspiration comes from a conversation I had with Evil Dia. We were going back and forth in a comment section on one of my videos actually, and he had mentioned that he wanted to hear some of my ideas about how we can go about spreading Esperanto. So just to give you a little bit of background about myself, my name is Jacob Laguerre. You can go to the introduction slide. I was born and raised in New York, and I've been studying Esperanto since 2023. I'm an aspiring polyglot, and I'm also a huge fan of anime. Just a little fun thing about me there. But anyways, yeah, like in addition to all of that I just mentioned, I've also been doing marketing and advertising for over 10 years. So because of that, that gives me a pretty unique perspective as far as how to go about, making increasing awareness, how to go about promoting things, because like I have a very deep background in marketing and advertising, and I think this video is going to be very useful for people that are passionate about Esperanto and they want to have a way where they can go about spreading Esperanto and talking about it and exposing people to it in a way that isn't like weird or like turns people off, or it just feels all like kind of slimy and stuff. So that's some kind of my goal as far as this video goes. Now, before we go and we dive into like the meat and potatoes of this video, I do think I should address the elephant in this room, and that is, why am I speaking English, right? Or Kiel mi parolas la anglan, in Esperanto. So that is a good question, and there are a few reasons why I'm speaking English in this video. The first, and I guess one of the biggest reasons I would argue, is that I want to illustrate the fact that we can't share Esperanto in Esperanto. Now, I know that should seem like rather obvious, but when we're trying to make more people aware about Esperanto, like if you just go and you just start speaking Esperanto to someone who's never heard of Esperanto before in their life, obviously nothing's gonna like come through. Like they're not gonna understand anything. So we need to be able to meet people where they're at, and that's usually going to be in a language that they already speak. Now, in relation to the point that we can't share Esperanto and Esperanto, English is my native language. So when it comes to, for me at least, when I want to go and I want to expose people to Esperanto, I want to make sure that I'm going to use English since that's my native language. So obviously, if you don't speak English, and if your native language is like Spanish, French, Russian, or what have you, then you should obviously spread it in the language which you're the strongest in. But being that I am an English speaker and I want to connect with other English speakers, I want to go and like I'm going to be talking about Esperanto in English. Now, another reason too, in regards to the fact that I'm making this video in English, is that I want this information to be as accessible as possible. Now, obviously, when you first get started with Esperanto, like you're going to need some time for you to like build up your skills and get to the point where you can start to use Esperanto on a conversational basis. But even before then, there may be people that want to go and they want to talk about Esperanto, but they don't necessarily have the skills for Esperanto. And this is a very important point here. Like when it comes to sharing Esperanto, you don't need to be a highly proficient speaking in Esperanto. Now, of course, it does help if you can speak Esperanto well, but if you're someone that's passionate about Esperanto and you want to just share it with more people and make more people aware about it, like you should absolutely be equipped with the tools and the resources to do so, which is why I'm making this video. So I just want it to be, accessible to as many people as possible. So with that said, yeah, those are basically the reasons why I'm making this video in English. Like I will try to keep the English at a very minimum on this channel because the channel is called JL Esperanto, so the majority of the videos should be in Esperanto. But when it comes to this video in particular, as far as sharing like how to go about spreading Esperanto, I think it would be not in my best interest or not in the community's best interest if I just made it in Esperanto. Like I want this to be accessible, and English is obviously a very accessible language for many people. So that is the long and the short of it. So now we can jump into the meat and the potatoes of this training. So when it comes to sharing Esperanto, there's basically three pillars that you want to keep in mind when it comes to sharing this. The first one is content, the next one is community, and the last one is connection. So content that can obviously take many different forms. So that could be like a blog post, that could be like an audio, like a podcast, a video, like what I'm doing right now. So it's basically like any sort of content like that. And the idea behind this content that you're creating is that you want it to be relevant to the people that you're sharing it to, as well as interesting. So you want to have a balance of both of those things. Now we're going to go into each one of these points a lot more. I'm just giving you guys just a basic overview here, but that's the idea behind content. Next is community. And when I say community, ideally what you want to do is you want to have some type of virtual space that you can bring people into, that you can interact with, like they can interact with you on a closer basis, as well as being able to interact with each other. And by having this community, you're able to foster a sense of belonging and engagement, and you're able to like just kind of keep people around, and you're keeping them engaged, and you're becoming like a familiar face to them, so to speak. And lastly is connection. Now, the thing is, when it comes to like the connection part, you want to make sure that you have a direct connection with your target audience. Now, you might say to yourself, like, what about like on Facebook or like YouTube or whatever? And it's true that you are able to build an audience on those platforms, but the thing is, there's a lot of you're not in control of that audience. Like, you can just get your Facebook or your Instagram or whatever shut down like immediately. And secondly, like, you can't really guarantee that every person that follows you or is subscribed to you is going to see your content. Like a lot of it is in the hands of the algorithm, and the algorithm is going to show people things like what they feel that they should be shown at that particular time. So the thing is, like, you don't have a lot of control with that. But if you have like your own contact list, say like an email list, like when you go and you send an email out and you have 1,000 people on your list, like for an absolute fact that 1,000 people are going to receive your email. That's not really the same way with like on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Like only a fraction of people that are following you or subscribe to you are going to be able to like see your content like when you put it out. So that is the really important part. Like it just gives you full control like over the relationship, and that just really helps to maintain that direct and ongoing communication. So yeah, so that's just a very very brief overview. But now we're going to dive into each one of these one by one. So when it comes to the content part, there's a couple of things that you want to keep in mind. One of the first big thing is that you want to choose either like 1 to 2 platforms that you're going to be creating content on a consistent basis. So there's a couple of different options. So you can either do like a blog, it could be like one of the social media platforms like Facebook or Instagram or whatever. You could do a podcast. Like it doesn't really matter which platform that you use, but you want to pick at least 1 or 2 at the very most, because when it comes to content, like it's very much like a long-term game, and it's something you have to be doing on a consistent basis. So ideally, whatever platform you choose, it has to be something that you like, and it has to be something that you can see yourself sticking with for the long-term basis. Now, when it comes to creating content, for like for attracting people and stuff, like I'm there. There's so many content ideas. Like I'm just giving you guys a couple ideas here on the slide, but if you use your imagination or if you just think about it a bit, like there's just so many ways that you can create content. Like one of the things that you should consider or keep in mind when you're creating your content is you want to think about what is it that attracted you to Esperanto, and see if you can highlight that in your content. So if what attracted you to Esperanto, let's say, was like the literature and stuff, you can talk about like some of the best, like you can make a post saying like, oh, here are like the 5 best original books in Esperanto, something like that. And you can go and you can provide like a brief summary of each one of the books and stuff. So you want to think about that. Like ideally, when you're creating content, you want to have a particular person in your mind. And to make this easy, like in marketing, we call this like knowing like your target audience, or having like a customer avatar, so to speak. Ideally, what you should try to do, in my opinion, just to make this simple, try to think about someone that would be like similar to yourself. So give you an example, like if you're somebody that's like in college, let's say, like think about like how is it you can go and you can attract them like, how is it as a college person you was like attracted to Esperanto? Or if you're like a mother, like how is it like as a mother you're attracted to Esperanto? Also, like I said, like as I say here on the slide, like you could try to niche down when possible. Like you could focus on a particular country, like may say like if you're from the United States like me, you could focus on people that don't like in the United States. You can focus on people that have like particular hobbies, like maybe like you're into anime, or you're into like bicycling or something like that. Maybe like a particular age range. Like you want to focus and try to make your content like as you want to filter your content to your own unique experiences is what I would recommend. Because the thing is, like when it comes to marketing, like when you try to appeal to every single type of person, you're gonna end up appealing to nobody. So when you try to create content, like really try to bring out your own unique personality and put your own unique flavor into the content. It's like even if you're talking about something that's related to Esperanto, like talk about like what your experiences were like talk about like like the videos that you've seen, or like the lectures or the events that you've gone to, and like how you experience them, the type of people that you met. Like talk about it from a very, very personal place, because ultimately when it comes to marketing, like you have to understand that even though we may be trying to reach like dozens or hundreds or thousands of people, you really got to think of it more so like on a one-to-one basis. Like when a person comes across my content, like how is it that I want them to feel? Like how do I want this content to resonate? Like you always want to think from like a sort of like one-to-one interaction, because that's how people relate. Like sure, like we like being in groups and communities, but it's really like that one-to-one interaction. And if you can make that come through in your content, that's what people are really I'm going to appreciate. So like I said, like I list out a couple ideas here, like how you discovered Esperanto, what you like about it. You can talk about like how you're studying Esperanto, and I'm also going to give you guys like a real example as well, like as how I'm going about applying this framework that I'm giving you guys. Right now, I'm just kind of like I'm giving you guys the theory as far as like how all of this works. So that is content in a nutshell. So the next part is community. So the idea behind having a community is that you want to basically just create a space that you can connect on with your target audience. Now, when you're creating your content, whether that's like a blog or a video or a podcast or what have you, like you're able to like get eyeballs, so to speak. That's what we call it in the marketing. You're able to get eyeballs on your content. So now you're able to get people's attention. But now from getting people's attention, you want to funnel them into a place where you can create like a much more intimate setting. So now you can interact with them on a consistent basis. You can get ideas for content. You can start to deepen that connection. Now, one thing you have to understand about people is that we like to have like a sense of belonging. Like we like to feel like we belong, like within a particular group or in a particular sector, what have you. That's why like people. I think about like with sports teams, for instance. Like when you see like people that are huge fans of sports teams, like that's that group mentality, like shown there, like as a perfect example. So when you go and you can create like your own like separate group that you can have people like come into, now you're able to really just connect with them and really just build a deeper connection with them. And now people will become more open to whatever it is that you have to say. Something I learned in marketing that was really helpful for me is that people only do business with people that they know, like, and trust. So when you go and you have a community, you're able to work on all of those factors at the same time. You're able to get people to know who you are, and as they get to know you, the people start to like you, and as they start to know and like you over time, as they see you showing up on a consistent basis, and you're being authentic, and you're sharing content that's interesting and that's relevant to them, that's how you start on building that trust. So when you go and you start talking about things like, hey, like I have this thing called Esperanto, they're going to be a lot more open, and they're going to be a lot more interested into whatever it is that you're trying to share with them. That is. So I would also consider too, like maybe you might want to consider like having like some sort of theme for your community. So like I said, like this is where it comes to like the whole niche and down thing. So you could do something like Esperanto for I don't know, like over 60 or something, or like Esperanto for like book lovers, or I mean, it doesn't have to have the name Esperanto into it. Like I said, like this is where you have to like kind of use your own head and think about like, all right, like how do I want to position this community, based on everything that I'm sharing with you so far. And don't worry, I'm going to show you an example later of like how all of this looks like in real life. But this is just how you want to start thinking about these things. Like if you want to have a community, or you could just make it like around yourself. Like you could name a community could be like your name or something like that. So there's many different ways that you can go about this. Now, last but not least, is connection. Now, something I want to mention too, like when it comes to like these three C's that I'm going over, there is a lot of overlap between these things. Like with the content, for instance, the content can help you with building your community. Like you could like build like a small community of people like around the content that you post, which also can help with connection. Your community can give you ideas for content that you want to create, as well as deepening the connection with your target audience. So these things do overlap with one another, but it's really best to think about each one of these things separately, so that way you have all of your bases covered. And when you put everything together, like everything just works more synergistically. So these aren't like hard boundaries, so to speak, but it's good to like think of them like as separate domains to focus on. So like I said, so getting back to the whole connection thing, like when it comes to the connection, ideally what you want to do is that you want to build some kind of contact list that you can go and you can communicate with people with on a regular basis. Now, in most cases, this is going to be like an email list, but technically this could also include like a physical address, or it could be like somebody's phone number, for instance. Now, I don't have a lot of experience with mobile marketing, or like collecting like physical addresses of people, so I can't really speak too much on that. But collecting people's email address is a tried and true method as far as like building like that contact list. Now, when it comes to creating like an email list, ideally what you want to have is some kind of freebie that you can give people in exchange for getting on your email list. So an example of a freebie could be something like, here are like 10 resources for like learning Esperanto, or here are like the top five Esperanto podcasts or something like that. Something that's like valuable, something that's like interesting, like that would be desirable to your target audience. Like I said, that's just those are just two ideas, but obviously there are many different ideas you can come up with for lead magnets. You can just do a quick Google search and you can learn more like about what lead magnets are about, to get some more ideas there. But ideally, you want to have something that you can give people, so that way, once they go and they will give you their email. Still, it's kind of like a give and take. You give them something, they give you your email, and that's how you go and you build your contact list. So after you go and you build your contact list, ideally you want to be keeping in contact with people and sending at least one email per week. Now, I think it's much better to do like daily emails, like send emails once per day, but I know that might be a lot for some people. But at least once per week, just as a way to just keep in contact with your audience, with the people that you've been attracting. You can share like your content. You could follow up with them. Ask them questions. Engage in some sort of dialogue with them. So there's many different ways you can go about it. So like I said, this is more so, just kind of provide like a general overview. But if you can have these three things, the content, the community, as well as connection, you're going to be in a very good position where you're going to have people coming into your world on a daily basis that's going to be building deep connections with you, that are going to become people that will be very open, to hearing what it is that you have to say, which ideally would be about Esperanto. So that takes care of it as far as the theory. So next we're going to go over how this actually looks like in real life, as far as like how I'm applying this. All right, so this is how I'm implementing the three pillars when it comes to sharing Esperanto. So I do have a business in the language learning niche. So it's essentially my personal brand. I have it under my name, Jacob Laguerre. So as you can see here, I have a video where I talk about some myths about Esperanto that I debunk. And I also have a blog as well where I do some talking about Esperanto. So just to give you an example, so here, like the easiest languages for English speakers to learn, one of those languages being Esperanto. And I believe I do have another post as well in regards to Esperanto. Whoop, just gonna pull this down. So yeah, so over here, why learn Esperanto, how to learn Esperanto. So you see like, excuse me. I'm basically just sharing content, and I'm bringing up Esperanto in a way that that's natural. So I do write articles that are SEO optimized, which basically means that I'm writing articles that people are actively searching for in Google. So this is something that people search for on why learn Esperanto, as well as how to learn Esperanto. These are both search terms. So just a little marketing terminology for you there. Now, as far as the community, I am currently building a community on Discord. Discord is actually a very popular platform for building a community, but you don't necessarily have to use Discord. You could do Telegram. You could do a Facebook group. There are a lot of different options out there, but I found Discord to be pretty good. I'm pretty adequate for my needs, but yeah, this may be more so just a matter of taste. But as you can see here, within the community, I have a section that's dedicated to Esperanto, like here for sharing resources, chat for people where people can ask questions about Esperanto, as well as a dedicated chat where everyone only speaks Esperanto. And finally, as far as the connection, I do have an email list that I'm building currently. So these are just some of the emails that I've sent. So you can see here, this is one of my recent emails where it says I'm learning Esperanto in 17 minutes. And basically in the email, I include a link to a website which claims to teach you Esperanto in 17 minutes. Now, this isn't to say that it teaches you everything about Esperanto in 17 minutes, but it gives you basically a general overview of Esperanto and just some of the the core concepts behind how Esperanto works. So yes, I do write emails from time to time. Just talking about Esperanto or things related to Esperanto. So as you see here, like what I did here as far as promoting Esperanto is that I took my love for like learning languages and I combined it with Esperanto, and now I'm just having a synergy between that and Esperanto. So this is something else you may want to consider as well. You can see how you can combine Esperanto with things that you're already interested in. So that way they just kind of work hand in hand with one another. So like I said, this is just a general framework that I gave you. This is an example of how you can go about implementing the framework, but it does offer a lot of flexibility. Like and now just like I said in the very beginning of all this is that, I've been doing marketing for a little bit over 10 years right now. So, for you to like get 10 years of marketing within like a 20-minute video or however long this video is, that's very much a tall order. But the whole idea behind this framework is just to give you like an idea, like some sort of guidance as far as like how to go about promoting Esperanto. And yeah, I definitely hope this video is super helpful. So if you have any questions or any comments, definitely feel free to leave them down below. And if you want me to dive deeper on any particular topics, I am open to doing that. Like I'm not planning on making any other videos besides this as far as like how to go about promoting Esperanto, but I may be open to making some additional videos, like especially if there's like a large demand for that. So anyways, oh, excuse me. Yeah, so this is Jacob Laguerre. I'm signing off, and I'll catch you in the next one. Jeez.